Yep. All right, great. So welcome back to the webinar. We're going to try and keep it nice and short today because there's a lot of work to do on our end. Oh. And so just what we're going to be covering today, I'm going to go a little bit into Affordable Art Fair, have a little chat about that, how we went, how our stall was, that sort of thing. Then I'm going to go talk a little bit about art materials for artists and also pricing work. So, and then Shiraz is going to talk, and he's just going to give an overview on the direct messaging so far, how it's going, that sort of thing too. So we're just going to jump right in. We're not going to wait for anyone today because this will be available to be seen later.
Just a quick note before everyone starts. When you're posting a comment or asking a question, just make sure you select all panelists and attendees before pressing send, just so that everyone can see it. That's all.
Great. So just going to jump right in to Affordable Art Fair. I just happened to man the stall the whole time, and it went really, really well. Really, really, really well. It was really like a selling frenzy for us, especially on the first night. Art was just like flying off the walls, and we couldn't keep up, and people were like, I want that, and it would sell straight away. And that happened a decent amount, quite a lot. But we got some really great positive feedback from artists that came and visited, and buyers, and artists also wanting to join up to Bluethumb and a bit unsure of the process, so had a good chat to some newcomers as well. In general, we got a lot of interest for the new gallery space, which is awesome. We had, buyers that had been following us for a little while and were stoked that we had our own space and couldn't wait to come see it. Throughout the fair, our store was mostly full, like the whole time, which was just insane. I think we were in a really good position when where the presenters or the organisers put us, which was like on the left as you first entered the building. And then people tended to enter and then go left and then do a lap and then come back. That was really a great position for us. We got a lot of visibility, and yeah, that was a lot of positioning. Some really good feedback that we had as well, that our store had a variety of artworks, a really good variety. It wasn't just paintings. We had prints, paintings, obviously. They were framed, unframed, lots of different price points, and that was kind of the brief that Affordable Art Fair gave us, and they were happy, the buyers were happy, the artists were happy. It worked really well in our favour, having a good variety. And the great thing about it, for anyone that did come, is we had QR codes on the labels of artworks, and this was a great sort of interactive way to get buyers on site looking at other artists' work, and it worked so well. I'm just like, pat on the back for everyone, because it was just great. Like, people were walking away, flicking through their phone, looking at the site, looking at other artists. It was just, the mobile traffic, I'm not too sure of numbers, but it spiked. It spiked throughout the whole fair, and it was, guys, it's going to change the game. Also, one of the good talking points that we were telling people was you can commission artists to paint what you want straight from your phone, and they were like, wow, I can't believe this is so easy. Like, we got rid of all that sort of, we just kind of showed how accessible it was and how accessible artists were and art was, and you could buy from your lounge and blah, blah, blah. It was like, people were saying, oh my God, you're technology wizards. I'm like, yes, we are. And like, oh my God, I can do this on my phone. Like, yes, you can. So it went really, really well, really well. And then also another great point was talking about the gallery space. So we've already had people come in from the fair that have purchased work, that were coming in to look at one thing and have bought 6 things, and it's just like the gallery space. It was a really good timing. Even talking about us launching it was, people like, ooh, new fancy gallery in Melbourne, yes, please. So yeah, so on the gallery opening, we have set a date. It is the 9th of October, which is a Wednesday night, and we're going to send out invites shortly. So save the date. This week, shortly. I wanted to also personally thank everyone that came along to Affordable. I got photos with some people and photos from the rest of the team as well. Thank you so much for your support. It's always great to see people that come along to these events and support us, and Bluethumb and you guys. Awesome, you guys. Anyway, jumping on, because we're going to be quick today. So kind of this is what kind of really stood out for us at the Affordable Art Fair were two things, and one was art materials and quality of art materials and pricing of work. So we're just going to go into, I'm just going to go into, sorry, a few little pointers to consider, you know, for yourselves, especially if you're starting out. I feel like I've directed this more at sort of first timers, hobby artists, sort of breaking into that emerging category of art, and, you know, it's just something to think about and take it very loosely. So what we learned is that art materials can really affect sort of your reputation and credibility as an artist. So I know it's controversial, but artists should really be purchasing the best quality materials that they can afford. And I know like arts can be expensive, but this should be your main priority when investing in your practice. One reason why is because anything that you put your name on is out there in the world, and you want it to be of the high or best quality, because that can set the standards for return buyers and collectors. So really focus on quality over quantity, I think, is really important, especially in these fairs, and if you want to break into that sort of higher market. So just some tips that I've put together for you. Ready-made canvases aren't ideal. They're made in factories, and we do see that they tend to warp. You also might need to reprime them, which can take, you know, time and money. So maybe it's not the best idea to buy sort of budget canvases from budget stores, basically is what I'm saying. Purchase the best quality that you can, or go to your local canvas stretchers. One of the great things about Affordable was we got to, a few of our artists flew over and we got to have good chats to them, and then a lot of them use the same canvas supplier, and you know, they and that canvas supplier isn't in their state, so something to consider. We saw at the Affordable Art Fair that pretty much everything was framed. So framing is very, very important, and especially I feel like if you're working on very detailed or time-consuming works, the framing can really make or break a sale, which was interesting to see. So in turn, I talked about it in the last webinar that I was in, but really look at your local framer. So try and support local businesses where you can. Gather contacts, like the more contacts that you have in the industry, the more that it feeds into your practice. So it's, you know, jump around, like find some good framers. And I think as well, it's like also putting your best foot forward. So putting your art how you want it to be seen and displayed is another notable thing. So really think about framing as well. Another thing I want to talk about, like with paints and paintbrushes, is you should really be purchasing the higher value paints, and you, like, unless you play with it, it has an effect, like 100% has an effect. You're not going to do this in one day. It's way too expensive to buy a bunch of paints and brushes in one day. So be prepared to build on your collection of tools over time. Don't go into it thinking I need to do this right now. A good point that someone told me was to start with the lower value sort of brushes and paints, and then as you go, replace with higher value, and then you'll also know what colors you need more and what brushes work best for you. So, you know, that's a good point to consider. So many good things. Another thing with materials is if you're ever unsure about certain brands or, you know, what to purchase, consult your art friends, consult, you know, people that have been doing it, you know, for years. The Facebook group is such a good network and everyone's so supportive in there. If you have a question about something and you can't find the right varnish, or you can't find a good, you know, a good supplier, canvas supplier, whatever it is, consult that Facebook group. Like, there's artists in there that have been doing this for a living and have done all the hard work for you. So consult them, ask them, you know, start a discussion. It will save you so much time. And then the last kind of point I wanted to make about materials is reinvest in yourself and reinvest in your practice. So if you've had a win, if you've made a sale, if you've won an award, invest that in your practice. That money, if it's an award, it belongs to your art. So put it back into it. And yeah, so that's what I want to say about materials. And I think like we could all step it up a bit if we wanted to. But yeah, up to you what you want to do with it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about pricing, which is a very sensitive topic, and we try not to have too much influence over because it's a very personal, could be emotional, very personal, what would you call it, thing, like aspect of, you know, your practice and pricing and market, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So a few artists I talked to, some use time as a way to factor art, some use the size of the canvas as a way to factor art. I feel like just find out what works best for you, but there are outside factors that you might need to consider when pricing your work. For us, it's like for us and Bluethumb artists, it's shipping, it's the commissions of online galleries and normal galleries. You also want to consider materials as well. GST, something you might want to think about, and discounts and people sort of, you know, discounts and lowering prices, that sort of thing. So return buyers, that's where I was going with that. So as a tip, if you're just entering sort of the market and sort of selling your work, I think don't focus on so much on price. Like, what's more important to you as an artist? Think about, you know, if you're just starting out and you projected that I want to be this type of artist in this time, well, maybe you need a certain amount of artworks in people's homes, or you need to win a certain amount of prizes or be in a certain amount of exhibitions. Whatever it is figure out your short and long-term goals, and then set sort of, what's it called? Notable. Set achievable milestones to get to that place. I want to say, if you're just sort of starting out, you should 100% be covering your costs when it comes to pricing your work. So, like, I don't think enough people are doing it. Like, cover your costs, because as well you could be pricing out other artists if you're not doing this. So definitely cover costs. You know. Okay, we won't get into it. If you're still unsure, a really good tip is to go onto the Bluethumb site and compare your prices with other artists. So other artists that you feel like maybe that they're on the same skill set as me, or they've got, you know, their style sort of similar and their canvas size, blah, blah, blah. Like, have a look at what they're doing, how they're pricing their work, and then kind of go from there. It's a really good starting point. Don't copy, starting point. I'd say as well as, like, a few people that are also entering into this tend to be experimenting and finding their style. So start small. Don't invest in big canvases. You know, start small, master your style, master your technique, you know, figure out what you want to do, and then go big. It will save you a lot of money. And then also with pricing is uniformity is key. And I know that I might talk about this a bit too much, but you know, if you have a different price on Facebook and a different price on Bluethumb, it affects your sort of credibility as a professional artist. You know, especially if someone's purchased something on one platform and they see it cheaper somewhere else, you know, you control that situation. You don't want that sort of negative, or like, you know, people want to, you know, root for you. So try not to ununiform pricing, if you know what I mean.
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Quite a few different webinars. So,
yeah. No, that's uniformity is also easier for buyers. So then they kind of know what to expect for a certain size canvas, blah, 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 blah. It also builds your reputations with art galleries and us as well. Like if we see, you know, it can leave a sour taste in someone's mouth if they see something that's priced differently. So try to avoid it and just do the right thing from the beginning. I do know a few artists that have a standard pricing guide, and that works really well for them because it's easy for commissions. They can just say, someone can just say, I want a 50 by 50, blah, blah, blah. Great, yep, my 50 by 50s are this price. And that works for them. Sometimes we actually have them saved on hand, so we don't even have to bother the artist, which is really handy. But I think as well is, and I'll talk about this, actually I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about pricing for commissions in a little bit. The other thing I wanted to talk about was rising your prices. And this is a very tricky situation. I've seen artists do it lots of different ways. Like if they sell a certain number of paintings, they might rise their prices, or if their financial year begins, they'll rise their prices. I think it's totally up to you. It's too touchy to touch. But just, I think before you do it, think about how it could affect you, how it could affect your sales. Expect people to ask for the lower price, and be prepared for that, and prepare them for that. So let your following know that you're going to raise prices. This is probably the most successful I've seen it done, is letting your following know my prices are increasing in this amount of time, and use it as a sales technique. Buy this now before it becomes this price. So that's another thing. I also would say if you've priced your work at a certain level, your new work should be priced at that higher range. You shouldn't up the pre-priced artworks. Yeah, cool. If you're upping the price on one specific work, like you've entered it, you could be doing this because you've entered it into an art competition, or it's won an award, or it's been a people's choice, that sort of thing. Let people know why you've increased it. Let them know. Put it in the artwork description. Shout it from Instagram. You need to let people know why you've risen that price, why it's risen value. And that's also another good selling technique. So I think don't just, it happens, we've seen it a fair bit, is people think that, oh, I'm just going to plop this up, see what happens. Like people watch artworks for months and months and months. And, you know, so just be prepared to let people know the value behind it in artwork. That's very common. Okay, cool. So pricing for commissions and custom pieces. This kind of comes under the direct chat, which Shiraz will go into, but we see that a round figure works best. So this artwork at this size will cost you X amount of money, all inclusive. I don't even need to say all inclusive, it's just whatever. This of giving them a round figure avoids any sort of terms for negotiation. So, okay, cool. So I live in like a suburb away from you, so I'm not going to pay shipping, blah, blah, blah. Just give them a round figure. This is it. If you get a little bit more, you get a little bit more. You know, don't worry about it. Anyway, okay. As a general rule, when people ask about commissioning work from a previously sold artwork, they expect the price to be the same. If it isn't, just let them know why. If it's an older work, you let them know. Just say, this was painted 2 years ago, and I'm a better artist now, so the price is different. I would say before you take any sort of deposit, set the terms of the commission. Let them know that they'll have X amount of revisions. It's going to take X amount of time. You know, so set everything out in writing for them to see before you take any money, before you committed to sort of any anything. And it works for some artists and it doesn't work for others, but I would say always take a deposit. Always take a deposit. Just so you're covered, and it's okay. But like they know they're gonna have to pay something, so just take it. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to end on some sales tips, and this is also take it very lightly. This is just something to consider when pricing your work or talking to buyers about pricing. But think like a retailer. So think about the final figure that you're also offering people. Say you've put an artwork up, and with the shipping and everything on Bluethumb, and it comes to $1,030. $1,030. Why? It's a weird number. It's a weird number. So, maybe $1,000 makes more sense. Or maybe putting it at $990 makes more sense. Or even rounding it up to 1,100. Like, those numbers are just a lot cleaner, and they make more sense. Especially, like, we see this all the time, and Freddie's actually very guilty of this, is he'll convince his husband to buy a certain artwork, and it might be priced at $980, and he'll say, oh, it's $900, it's under $1,000, don't worry about it. And I've done it too. I do it a lot. So if think about how people thinking about how people see prices can also be a really good selling point. Something, do what you must with it. Another thing is price. When there's conversations around pricing and discounts, try not to offer discounts straight away. Talk with the buyer and figure out why they're having second thoughts or why they're not fully committed, and then work your way around that conversation rather than offering them a discount straight away. So, someone might say, oh, I really like this, but I don't know if it will suit this space. Like, I'm just not sure about it. Remove once you've identified why they're not 100%, is remove the obstacles that are in front of them and say, oh, well, if you buy it through Bluethumb, there's free returns. So I can ship it to you. If you don't like it, you can ship it back and you don't have to pay anything. You can also view it in your own home. Like, no worries. Also, everything's insured. So why not just buy it? Just buy it. So that's, really, really take the time when there's price conversations happening, figure out why they're not 100% committed, and then remove that obstacle for them. Another thing to note is to know your sales tools. On our checkout, we have multiple different ways people can pay, and they are risk-free as well. So we've got the Bluethumb lay-by, which is where they have to pay for an artwork off over a month and a half. And once they've paid it, the artwork's sent out to them. Works really well for some people. We have Art Money and Afterpay. So Art Money, they can choose how long they want to pay for, up to 10 months. And they can pay a 10% deposit, or they can pay half, whatever's easier for them. And then obviously Afterpay, which is under $1,000, under 1,200 now, but not on the checkout. On the checkout, oh, okay. Afterpay, which, they pay off, depending on how long they've been with Afterpay, they pay it off in a certain amount of time, but you get paid after 7-day returns, and then they get the artwork straight away. So, if sometimes the conversation can be, I can't afford this right now, it's like, hey, chuck it on Art Money, chuck it on Bluethumb lay-by, do whatever you need to do. The thing with Art Money and Afterpay, it's a psychological thing. So it's not about affordability. It's this, I can afford, it's a psychological thing. So that's like, if you want to read some books about sales, and if you want to get into it. But breaking up the payments for people is just a lot easier. And anyway, I'm going to finish up because I'm rambling. I just wanted to mention that Nava. So Nava is a website that I'm a member of, and I know a few artists are members of, but it has some great tools on the website, some great articles, blogs, and they kind of set the industry standard, and everything I've pretty much said here today is on their site, and plus, extra bits from me. And also if you subscribe to them, and this is, they're not paying me or anything, like we don't do that. If you subscribe to them, you might also be covered, depending on what subscription you get, you can get liability insurance for yourself and your art. So, you know, if something does happen when your art's at an exhibition, you're covered. So worth a look into. They've got a great code of practice, which is an industry standard in Australia. Have a look if you've got some time. And anyway, I'm going to pass over to the lovely Shiraz, who's ready and waiting.
Thank you, Sarah. Great points. I'll just quickly go into a couple of things, but essentially just wanted to talk a little bit about the direct messaging that we had now on the site for a few weeks, and just a few points that we've learned from it in the last couple of weeks. So just when, I'll just go back to one point. So when Sarah was talking about free returns and, you know, different points that you can use to talk to people if they are, you know, umming and ahhing about buying a piece, a lot of, like, pretty much everyone offers free returns, but from what I understand, like, Bluethumb actually has truly free returns. So essentially, if someone's returning something, they don't pay anything, and like there's no deductions from what they paid, and they get refunded in full without any sort of like deduction. So if they paid $1,000, we pay for return shipping and they get paid refunded. This came up when we were talking to people in the Affordable Art Fair. So we talked to them face to face. They had a lot of questions. They talked about, you know, 7-day returns policy, and when we actually told them that, look, you get the piece, you hang it up, see it for a couple of days, and if you think it's not a good fit, we pay for it to go back to the artist. Artist doesn't pay for it, you don't pay for it. Bluethumb takes that risk, and it was a pretty. So we got a pretty positive response from it. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there. With the direct messaging, a couple of points I would like to talk about is, so we've seen a few artists commissioning artworks and talking about it directly with the clients, which is great. It's fantastic that the collectors can talk to the artists directly and sort of go into detail what they want, share photos and all that. So we've put up a couple of articles which have full details of sort of terms and conditions and steps involved in commissioning a piece. So make sure before you actually start painting something, you share that with them, and also let them know to put the deposit down, just so you know that they are committed. So in the help center, there are 2 different articles. These are shared via, you should see them in your inbox as well. If not, just let us know and we'll send you the links. There are 2 different articles. One explains everything from an artist's point of view, how things work on a commission. It has steps of commissioning, what you should keep in mind, how to take a deposit, all that kind of stuff is there. And then there's another article which explains the steps and terms of commissioning a piece with the buyer for the buyer sent from the artist. So that article is just there so you can copy the whole thing, paste it in a reply and send it to them. It has links so they can pay the commission, they can pay the deposit as well quite quickly. So it's all set up there now. We just emphasize on it that just so that before you actually start, you invest anything into, you know, a new piece, a canvas painting or whatever, you should ask them to put a deposit down just so that everything is, you know, secure and they are also committed to it. Yeah, and just a couple other points that came up is people sometimes ask for international shipping costs. So just let us know on Bluethumb how international shipping is calculated. Is it's calculated based on the size, the price, and the location of the artwork, as domestic shipping is calculated, and also based on the country. So if you're not sure, just let us know if someone asks you something and we'll give you an amount that you can tell them. The international checkout is quite simple as well on Bluethumb. So on the checkout, you can, there's a short list of countries where we have automated checkout, so they can just buy it like normally. So they can change the country, the pricing changes, and then they can put the order through. For the rest of the countries, we have to approve it from our end. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Or if someone is asking you something, or if you have a client that you is trying to buy something, you can just let us know. The other thing is about discount. So sometimes people ask, "Oh, are you negotiable, or can I offer you this particular amount for this particular piece?" It's completely up to you. It's your call. If you do want to offer a discount or a lower amount for the client, don't lower the price on your listing. Don't change the pricing. Just let us know. We'll give you a code that you can share with the collector, and they can use that to buy that piece at a lower amount, but the final display price stays the same, just so that it doesn't affect any of your future sales. So if you sell a $1,000 piece for $800 now, if someone wants to commission a piece based on this, they shouldn't expect that this will be $800, and that's why we say that. So just get in touch with us, and we can do that for you. With another thing that came up a little bit on in the affordable art fair, and also with the messaging, is with the artwork description. So if your piece is based on a location, obviously write about which location is it. If it's not in the title, just sort of like talk a little bit about it. But if it's an abstract, or if it's sort of like a little bit cryptic, so like, if someone sees that it's not very obvious what the piece is about, do write about it in the description, because people do want to talk about it, or they do want to understand what this is. We had this a couple of times in the affordable art fair. So they saw a particular piece and they were like, "Oh, so what's the story behind it?" And some of them we knew, and some of them we didn't. So we just winged a couple of them based on it. But if it's there in the artwork description, it helps quite a bit for us and for the collectors as well, just so that their questions are answered before they actually ask one. And to finish up, we have been thinking about sort of hosting, now that we have a gallery here, at least in Melbourne, and then soon in other cities as well, hosting something similar to this webinar, but in person, where we can actually talk more about, just sort of like art of closing a deal kind of thing. So you can, we'll come in, you guys can come in if you're available, and we'll just talk about a few different points on what to keep in mind when you're talking to collectors, just sharing what we've learned from our experience. And we do on a day-to-day basis. We talk to different people pretty much every other day. And we try to keep everything, whatever we learn, we try to put them in sort of like articles and help articles for you guys. But it would be good if we do that sort of like a meeting once a quarter, and just actually see people face to face and answer questions. A lot of the times you might have questions that we might have answered to, but we've never had a chance to ask and answer. So that would be good as well. We don't know when that will be just yet, but that's an idea, and we'll sort of formulate on that, and we'll let you guys know. Cool. We'll just go through the comments. I don't think there are a lot of questions. I can see that still a few of you are commenting and to only panelists. So what that means is it only comes to us, and only we can see it on the chat. So just make sure before you hit enter, make sure you change the to all panelists and attendees, just so that if you want everyone to see it, obviously.
Okay. We're going to move this forward.
Because Sarah doesn't have her glasses.
I forgot my glasses.
Again, it just
okay.
There's someone from Officeworks actually.
Yeah, that's weird.
We don't know who that is, but thank you. Someone whose account is called Officeworks says, "Good afternoon, brilliant job, Shaz and Sarah, on your work on the Affordable Art Fair, and great to see you there." So thank you.
Officeworks.
Yeah. Let us know what your name is. Okay.
Cool. Maybe it might be, if guys chuck your messages down, we're going to quickly zip through this. So we'll wait a couple minutes and answer as we go. But yeah, if you don't have any questions, we'll finish up.
Someone's asking, I think it's Donna. Do that. So Donna's asking, do we do the deposit through you guys, or are we supposed to do it on bank, please? So you can put it through Bluethumb. You should put it through Bluethumb. So if you go through the articles, what I'll do is I'll just drop a link here so you can read it in there. All you have to do is send them that those steps which are already ready, so you can just copy and paste them. And the buyers, they can just purchase a gift voucher on the website on Bluethumb, and essentially they have a gift voucher of the deposit amount, and when the artwork is ready and you've uploaded that as a new piece, they can just use that gift voucher code. It reduces the amount of deposit they've paid at that point, and they can just pay the remaining. So it's a very smooth process of doing the whole thing.
Okay.
Oh.
Nice to see color coordination with the background.
It was not an accident.
No, if they're talking about your purple shirt.
Yeah, no, which is actually black. But my computer's camera is a little bit colorblind. Haley's saying yes, yes, yes. Having a personal connection with another Bluethumb artist would be amazing for the community. Yeah, I think that's a very good idea as well, and we will try and action that as soon as possible. Because it's always great to meet everyone in person and engage. It's it's something, we learn something new every time we meet a lot of artists, and it's good to do that.
Will there be opportunities for artists to exhibit their work at BT headquarters? Yes, there will be. I can't share any information with you right now, but hopefully the next webinar I will be able to, and it's very exciting. I'm very excited.
Yeah, Sarah and team has plans, so yeah, she'll be in touch. Haley's asking, can we message you during an inbox conversation with customers, or do you actually follow all those conversations? Sometimes it's great to run info through you before answering, makes answering the client timely and a little tricky. You just ping us an email when you have to ask a question. If it's between 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., we're usually online, we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If it's something urgent, feel free to send an email or just send a text if you have our numbers. We try to keep an eye on conversations, but given the volume, it's not everything is at all times in front of us. So just send us a message through. Cool. Danielle is asking, am I allowed to make up advertising postcards to put in the cafes, etc., with my Bluethumb handle on it? Sorry, that's not a silly question at all, Danielle. You can definitely do that. Just maybe get in touch with us and we'll tell you how to, if you don't know, we can tell you how to do QR codes as well, which is actually pretty cool for people to do. And you can definitely use your handle and put that in there. And if you need anything from our side, we'd be happy to help.
I think that's a you question. To go off course.
Sorry, to go off course a little, but has anything been done about us resident artists being able to upload videos, please? Don't know yet. The uploading video part, you can do it now via YouTube. So if you upload on YouTube, you can put a link in when you're uploading an artwork. There's a separate tile for you to put a YouTube link in. But soon we will have a way so that artists can actually upload videos of the artworks as well. It's still in the making. It's a huge job and it will take a little bit of time, but it's coming and it will be there for sure.
Love to show work at BT headquarters.
I think that's Tracy.
Yeah.
Bethel.
Oh, okay.
I think so. We can only see your first name, so we'll have to assume who you are if we don't know.
Ivana said, thanks about the art gallery. No worries, Ivana. And Angela said, will there be opportunities for Gold Coast / Brisbane artists?
I'm assuming you're talking about affordable art fair. If it is about affordable, we don't.
No, sorry, you go. I'll go.
I was just going to say that depends on where the actual art fair is. So this one was in Melbourne. I don't know what their movements are. I think they have one next year.
Yeah, we just got told that they, like 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes before the webinar, they will be hosting another one in Melbourne because it was very successful. But they're just breaking into the Australian audience. So I think they've got a plan and they've projected it for a few years. So they haven't told us if they're having one in Brisbane yet. They'll most likely do Sydney next. But we'll keep you up to date with that as well. With Angela, if you were asking about meet and greet or like the Q&A thing that I was talking about, we will do that
in pretty much every major city as we go. So we'll start from Melbourne because it's easier for us to sort of host that here. And then once we've done it once, then we'll try to do it in every major city. So we'll do it in Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. And don't know about Hobart, but I'd like to go there.
I'd like to go to Hobart. Oh, hang on, sorry. Maureen? Yeah, you go.
So Maureen is asking, not sure if it's okay to ask a question unrelated to the topic today. I've had 2 pieces in a basket for some months. What happens in the background regarding these works? Are the prospective purchasers contacted? How do these pieces stay in a basket? If not, appropriately answer this question. Thanks. That's okay. I can answer that. So when people add something to cart, it just depends on it's what we try to not intrude and by personally contacting them. The way the system works is if I've added something to cart and I've put an email address in and I didn't buy it, Bluethumb follows them up 3 times. The next day or an hour later, they get an email saying, hey, you've left something in your basket, blah, 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 you can buy it. Then I think 3 days later, they get another email if they still haven't bought it. And then they get another email, I think about 7 days later. And that's when we stop because we can't keep sending emails about something. So a lot of the times if people are just sort of shortlisting things, they add things to cart and they forget about it. And, or like if they change their mind or they don't go ahead, it just stays there. If it's still added to cart, it doesn't always mean, most of the times it means that it's a prospective sale, but a lot of the times people use different devices and they might have added the same piece to cart from 2 different devices and might have left one in there or something like that. So they might have moved from one and then they've completely forgotten about the other device. So if something has been added to cart, it doesn't mean that it's on hold for them. Anyone else can buy it still. It's still available for sale. It doesn't stop that particular piece in any form from being visible to other people or in any way. So if someone's added it to cart and they don't buy it, and anyone can still buy it, and they will just miss out on it. Cool.
Lisa was next.
Ah.
Yeah, followers. I've been advised by some of my followers that they do not receive emails when I upload new artworks. Can you please clarify what the benefits of having followers if there are not advised of new uploads?
Lisa, so when someone has followed you as an artist, they have options in their accounts on the frequency of how often they receive those emails. Just ask them to check that. Ask them to also check it's not going to their spam. We can see all the follow emails going out, and they've been going out regularly, but just maybe send an email separately and maybe send us an example of who is the person who's followed you, and I can check if the emails have gone out to them or not. We take it quite seriously. It's a really good tool, and the main benefit of following you is that when you upload new pieces, they get a notification. The frequencies are once a day, once a week, and I think once a month or something like that. So it just depends on what they've chosen. They will get emails accordingly. Gary is saying, can we opt on our pages to say we will frame the works if requested prior to shipping? Yes, you can.
Yeah, yes, you can.
What we usually say is that if you are able to frame them beforehand, do it. But when you're pricing your artwork, include the price of the frame into the artwork itself, so that there's no back and forth about, oh, this much is the framing and you have to pay this much more now that you've bought it or something like that. So just make it one price and say the framing is included, and just say allow for 5 days or whatever for shipping, before shipping.
Also with the direct chat, if you want to give people the option, I think as a general rule, we're saying, say that it comes framed, but in the artwork description, maybe mention this can come unframed at this price. And then what they can do is just message you and be like, oh, I want to buy the unframed one. You can quickly just change the prices and they can buy it.
Regarding add to cart, how come that we can't see which is the one adding to cart? Ivana, I think that's more of a feature for in the studio artist thing, and I'm not sure if there's like specifically which one you're talking about, maybe just send us an email and we can specifically look for you. And I also am not thoroughly in with the studio plan and the promo artist kind of thing, so I can look that up for you or pass it on along to the team member who is responsible. Luna, hi guys, there used to be a Bluethumb app in Play Store. What happened to that? Luna, so we pulled our Android app a while ago because we wanted to focus on the iOS app, which is getting a new build quite soon, and then it's the next build, it's getting a whole new look as well. We will soon move on to the Android app as well. It just hasn't taken priority at the moment, but we'll get to it.
So just wondering, if we deliver a sold artwork ourselves, do we get the delivery costs back?
Just let us know before. Sorry, I don't know what your name is.
I am what? I'm what?
It's,
I don't know, I can't read it.
Just let us know beforehand. So what we do is, if you're delivering something yourself, we can adjust the delivery cost. So the delivery actual shipping cost is 0. So it doesn't affect anything. And if it's done beforehand, the invoices are generated accordingly as well. So we don't have to do all the manual work of changing the invoices and all that. But yeah, that's not a problem if the buy is close by. Cool. Maybe be dropping out for Mon. I'm not sure if that's happening for everyone, but it might be a connection on your side as well. Cool. Tracy's saying, I'm a studio artist. You cannot see what has been added to cart. You can see views and favorites. And I think it's a glitch, as it did work last month, FYI. Thank you, Tracy. Like I said, I'm not across it at the moment, but I can check that for you for sure. Yeah, I don't have all the information on that just right now. Cool.
Oh, was that it?
Yep,
oh, great.
That's it. I'm just going to see, there's 2 Q&A. Yep, I'll play.
All right.
Cool. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Jacqueline. All right. See you guys next time. If you have any points that you would like us to raise for the next time, just let us know beforehand and we can definitely talk about it.
Great. Awesome. Thanks,
right.
everyone. See you.
See you guys. Yeah, and with a few of you guys who had questions, like specific questions, just let us know so we can sort of like look into it exactly for you. All right.
Great.
See you next time.
Bye.